Hello, I'm Scott Wrighton. I serve as Decatur's City Manager, and we're pleased to bring you this weekly update of what's going on at the city. While the number of positive COVID results in Macon County inches up a few more on most days, here's the really important number. Of almost 9,000 COVID tests administered in Macon County, there have been 238 positive results, a rate of just over 2.5% of the total tests conducted. That percentage compares very well, even here in central Illinois, which as a region has done well in this pandemic. This low percentage and the lesser demand on local medical facilities is no accident. It is the result of community-wide efforts to prevent the virus's spread. Thank you for your contributions to these results. But we've all heard about alarming infection increases in other parts of our country. Worldwide, roughly 1/4 of all positive cases are in the United States, even though our country comprises just 5% of the world's population. Here in Decatur and Macon County, we are at risk of virus spread from those outside hotspots. State and federal governments are not going to protect Decatur and Macon County from infection. We have to do that ourselves. So the precautions and the protocols put in place locally will continue. The special assistance provided to local governments, to local businesses will continue. And efforts to avoid very large gatherings will continue. Many of you have read about a court decision that limited Governor Pritzker's emergency orders. This decision came out of Clay County. It is in a different judicial circuit and it does not apply to Macon County. The judge in this case may have some legitimate questions about the extension of gubernatorial power, and the courts will settle those issues in good time. But I believe the judge intentionally limited the scope of his ruling in recognition of the need to allow public health restrictions to remain in place in other judicial circuits, including Macon County, while these legal issues are sorted out. So what can you do? Well, besides following safety and spacing, cleanliness and mask protocols, you can tell others via social media or whatever other communication methods you like to use about which local businesses are following the rules and which ones are not. Many of our fellow citizens are reluctant to go out due to fear of infection. If they knew which restaurants, salons, fitness centers, and stores were being observant of COVID protocols and which ones were not, they would be better able to make good, safe, and informed choices about where to go whenever they chose to venture out. As I've mentioned before, the mayor and city council are anxious to help all Decatorites find their new normal, help local businesses adapt and thrive in this different environment, and help all of us restore the joy of living that feels very different than it did before March. At the City of Decatur, we are doing our best to help lead the city in this direction. We've resumed in-person city council meetings, but in a larger venue where we can socially distance better and circulate more outside air. One thing that hasn't changed is the city's commitment to maintaining safety and order in our community. You may have heard that the Civic Center and the Transfer House were vandalized over the weekend. In some cities in America, the destruction of public property has been tolerated. Not here. The person responsible for this vandalism is already in custody. We should all be proud and pleased that the overwhelming majority of Decatur citizens celebrated our nation's birthday or protested for more civil rights and social justice, or both, and did so peacefully. Decatur will not be defined by the very, very small number of people who use these events as an excuse for criminality. Decatur is better than that. Criminal activity still has consequences in Decatur. As the City Council seeks to return to its normal tasks and its busy docket, but within the bounds of our new normal, let me mention two things that took place at last Monday's City Council meeting. For nearly a year, the city has been working on a new ordinance that would relax existing rules that prevent the use of native grasses and other native plantings in the city. Unfortunately, some misleading pre-meeting coverage of this issue made it appear that the city was increasing restrictions. In fact, we are seeking to relax them and increase the flexibility for those persons interested in expanding their landscaping options to include native plantings. Contrary to some of the rumors that were out there, the proposed ordinance has no impact on your fruit and vegetable gardens or your hedgerows or most other existing landscaping. In fact, the native plantings that the ordinance would allow are like those that you might see out at the Rock Springs Conservation Area. The debate over this ordinance is about the extent to which these kinds of plants can be integrated with our more densely developed urban environment without creating other problems. As it is, the city's tall grass and noxious weeds complaints are not decreasing. But we also want a greener planet. So the debate surrounding this ordinance is about finding the right compromise, the right middle ground for Decatur. We have been aided in this project by a talented ad hoc advisory committee comprised of local citizens with a lot of knowledge on this subject. The City Council tabled this item last Monday to make just a few more changes to the language, and I expect it will be back and ready for council action very soon. Another green initiative the city advanced at Monday's council meeting is the approval of a planning contract to develop a city-county-wide hike-bike, non-motorized off-road trail system. The Park District and other entities have installed over the years a few walking and cycling trails on the edges of the city, but there is no plan for joining them up, of deciding how these trails get through the more densely developed parts of the city and figuring out how to use existing city-owned rights-of-way to create a fully connected off-road system and improve transportation options for those who travel without automobiles. The City Council awarded a contract to a consultant who will complete the plan. But here's some more good news. 88% of the study cost is being paid with state and federal transfers and not with local tax dollars. At its next study session, the City Council will begin a discussion about how it can give additional assistance to groups of residents who may have been the hardest hit by the pandemic, by social unrest, or by lack of economic opportunity. These and other things going on in Decatur cause me, our dedicated city staff, and the entire City Council to be even more bullish on Decatur, despite the difficulties that we have all encountered during the first half of 2020. I think we have seen that medium-sized metro areas like Decatur are more resilient, safer, and more peaceful than our nation's largest metropolises. And because we are not as large, we are better able to shape that new normal that may be in our future, and together create an environment where people and businesses can thrive. So thank you for your feedback, and I look forward to visiting with you again next week.